Recognition is not the same as awareness. This distinction is the foundation of everything this piece examines, and without it, the piece cannot be honest about what the recognition actually is and what it actually produces. The avoidant was aware of your value throughout the connection. The monitoring system, which has been registering the specific quality of your presence with the accuracy it brings to all significant relational inputs, had the data from which the recognition could be produced across the entire duration of the connection. The awareness existed, the information was present. The specific, particular, this person's specifically quality of what you brought was registered in the avoidance interior with a specificity and a faithfulness that the subsequent comparative diminishment, the discovery that the world does not readily reproduce what you are trying confirms, was not superficial. The awareness is not the recognition. The awareness is the data. The recognition is when the data arrives in the interior at its full weight, without the management's modulation, without the narrative's accommodation, without the comfortable frameworks that keep the full weight from landing completely. The recognition is the awareness becoming undeniable. The information breaking through the management's interception and reaching the interior in the form it actually is, rather than the form the management was processing it as. This breakthrough, the awareness becoming recognition, is one of the most significant interior events available in the avoidance psychology. And what it produces, once it has occurred, is specific and observable and distinctly different from everything that came before it. The stillness. The first thing that happens when the recognition arrives is a quality of stillness in the avoidance interior that is unlike the stillness that the management produces. The management's stillness is the stillness of a system that is running its containment protocols efficiently. The composed, self-sufficient, apparently at peace quality of someone whose management is doing its job well enough that the interior's content is not visible at the surface. It is the stillness of suppression, maintained, requiring energy. The stillness that the recognition produces is different. It is the stillness of something that has stopped moving, of a process that has arrived at its destination and is simply, quietly, no longer in motion. The avoidant who has arrived at the recognition of your value is not in the familiar, management-consuming motion of processing you as an intimacy pressure to be managed or as a relational input to be calibrated against. They are in the specific, unfamiliar, no longer in motion quality of someone who has arrived at a truth and is simply sitting in it. This stillness is brief. The management reassembles. The motion resumes. The familiar protocols re-engage with their usual efficiency. But the stillness was there. In the honest hours, in the unguarded moments, in the specific quality of a particular interaction or a particular night when the recognition arrived in its full weight and the avoidant, for the duration of its arrival, was simply still. The stillness is the recognition's first product, the moment of genuine, unmanaged, fully weighted knowing, the discomfort that follows. What follows the stillness is not peace. This is one of the recognition's most counterintuitive qualities, that the genuine, full-weight recognition of another person's value does not produce the relief of clarity or the warmth of gratitude or the simple, uncomplicated experience of knowing something important. It produces discomfort, specific, particular, management-activating discomfort that is the natural consequence of genuine recognition landing in an interior that has been organized across the duration of the connection around the management of the thing. The recognition is now telling the interior was always genuine, always significant, always deserving of more than the management's processing. The discomfort has a specific content. It is the simultaneous arrival of two things that the management had been successfully preventing from arriving together. The full weight of what you actually are, the specific, irreplaceable, genuine, article quality of the person the recognition is now clearly, undeniably describing, and the full weight of how that thing was met, the specific, traceable, management-produced record of every interaction in which the genuine quality of what you brought was processed as intimacy pressure, rather than received as what it was. The two arrived together, the worth and the record of how the worth was met, and the gap between them, the specific, now undeniable, recognition-produced gap between what you were and how you were treated, is the discomfort's source. The avoidant is sitting in the honest accounting of a gap that the management was successfully preventing from being seen at its actual size. And the honest accounting at full size is uncomfortable in the specific identity level. This is not what I understand myself to be way of someone whose self-concept did not include being the person who treated something genuinely valuable as inadequately as the record shows. The changed quality of remembering. The recognition changes the quality of the memory, not the content. The memories remain what they were, the specific moments and interactions that constitute the connection's history, but the quality of how they are held changes in a specific, recognition-produced way. Before the recognition, the memories were held through the management's processing framework. The warm moments as evidence of the genuine connection's existence, the difficult moments as the reasonable, circumstances-appropriate responses of someone whose attachment style produced certain predictable outputs. The pattern's iterations as the understandable operation of a system that was doing what it was built to do. The management provided the interpretive framework. The memories existed within the framework. After the recognition, the same memories are held without the framework's comfort. They are held in the specific, honest, recognition-produced light of what they actually were, the genuine quality of what you brought, and the specific quality of what the avoidance management produced in response. The warm moments are held with the specific tenderness of things that were real and that were not honored adequately. The difficult moments are held with the specific weight of the honest accounting, not the comfortable, circumstances-appropriate interpretation, but the direct, management-bypassed recognition of moments where something genuinely worth meeting was met with the management's distance creation instead. The memory changes quality. It becomes more honest, more specifically weighted, more directly connected to the recognition's content rather than to the management's preferred framework. And the changed quality memory is one of the most durable products of the recognition because it cannot be processed back through the management's framework into the more comfortable version. The recognition, once it has genuinely arrived, alters the relationship with the memory in a way that the management cannot reverse without the memory becoming dishonest in a way the interior will not permit. The specific reaching toward you. The recognition produces action. Not immediately, the management reassembles. The discomfort generates its own management protocols. The recognition's full implications are worked with and around and through before any action follows. But eventually, in cases where the recognition has reached the interior at the level that genuine recognition requires to produce genuine behavioral consequence, the action comes. The action is the reaching toward you, not the calibrated, testing, plausibly incidental reaching of the management's preferred output. The specific, weighted, this is not incidental reaching of someone whose interior has been changed by the recognition and whose changed interior is producing the specific impulse toward you, toward the person the recognition has identified as genuinely, specifically, irreplaceably significant chi, with a force and a specificity that the management's ordinary interception capacity cannot indefinitely contain. The reaching may take many forms. The direct communication that carries the specific weight of the recognition's content, the acknowledgement of what you were, the honest account of what the avoidant failed to honor, the genuine and specific expression of the regret that the gap produced. The showing up in the space where you are with the quality of someone whose interior has moved them there, rather than the management's calculation having placed them there. The conversation that goes directly to the content that the recognition demands be addressed rather than the management's preferred deflection around it. Whatever form it takes, the reaching that the recognition produces has a specific quality that distinguishes it from the management's reaching. It is not calibrated for deniability. It does not carry the plausible incidental quality of someone who is reaching while maintaining the management's preferred protection of the reach, not counting as a reach unless the response is encouraging. It carries the weight of what it actually is. Someone who has genuinely, internally arrived at the recognition of your value and who is reaching from that genuine place rather than from the management's assessment of the optimal engagement level. The permanent installation. The most significant thing that happens when the avoidant recognizes your value, the most durable product of the recognition's arrival, is the permanent installation examined in the forever bonding piece. The recognition, once it has genuinely arrived at the interior at full weight, does not subsequently leave. It becomes part of the permanent geography of the avoidant's interior landscape. The specific, particular, this person's specifically assessment that the monitoring system produced, which was always accurate, which was always present as data, which the management was always successfully preventing from being received at its full weight, is now installed in the interior in its full, honest, no longer being modulated form. The installation is permanent because the recognition cannot be unrecognized. The management can reassemble. The narrative frameworks can reconstruct themselves. The comfortable distance can be re-established. But the recognition, once genuinely arrived at, has changed the interior in a way that these subsequent constructions cannot reach back and undo. The interior now carries the knowledge, specific, clear, permanent, of your actual value, the specific weight of it, the irreplaceable quality of it, the precise, undeniable, this person and no one else character of it. This knowledge is what the avoidant carries forward into every subsequent comparison that confirms the irreplaceability, into every subsequent encounter with someone who is not you and who the monitoring system assesses as not producing the same reading, into every nighttime hour when the management is least resourced and the interior's honest content is most accessible, into the specific, permanent, this is part of who I am now quality of someone whose interior landscape has been permanently altered by the arrival of the recognition. The recognition of your value, when it genuinely arrives in the avoidant's interior, is among the most significant interior events their psychology is capable of producing. It produces the stillness and the discomfort and the changed quality of memory and the specific reaching and the permanent installation. It changes the interior landscape in a way the landscape does not return from, and it arrives, always, later than it should have. In the honest hours, in the comparative diminishment, in the nighttime hours when the management is least resourced, in the moment when the full weight of what you actually were finally, without the management's modulation, lands in the interior at its actual size. And the interior, receiving it at actual size, the genuine, specific, irreplaceable, actual size, is changed by the receiving, permanently. In the specific, quiet, management cannot revise this way of something that has been genuinely, fully, at full weight known. You were always that valuable. The recognition was always accurate. The management was always preventing it from landing completely, until it wasn't. And then it did, and then the interior was changed, and will be for as long as the interior carries anything that was ever genuinely real.